So before we get deeply into the topic, we need to know what is volumetric analysis. It is a quantitative analytical method to measure the volume of a solution whose concentration is known and applied to determine the concentration of the analyte. Before we move further, we need to know what is acid rain, since we choose acid rain as our application. Acid rain is a pure rainwater that collected in areas from civilization which is slightly acidic in pH around 5.6 due to dissolve in carbon dioxide and react with water to form carbonic acid, which is a weak acid. In here, we have four types of volumetric analysis. Firstly, we have acid-base titration to find the amount of non-acidic or basic substance through acid-base reaction. Secondly, we have precipitation titration, involve the formation of precipitate during the titration technique. Thirdly, we have complex formation titration, titration of metal ion with the reagent disodium ethylene diamate tetraacetate. Lastly, we have redox. Determine the concentration of given analyte by causing a redox reaction between the titrant and the analyte. So our group choose acid-base titration in this topic. Therefore, we need to know how titration works in solving the acid rain problems by collecting the sample of rainwater, adding a known amount of base solution to neutralize the acid, and then use titration calculation to determine the concentration of acid in the rainwater. So what are the equipment needed from the experiment? We need to have burette, pipette, and indicator solution like phenolphthalein, solution of a non-concentration, usually a base. Lastly, what are the limitations from the experiment? It can be measurement or calculation, and the fact that titration only measure the concentration of specific acidic compound and not the overall pH level. So based on the theory, hundred of compound, both organic or inorganic, can be determined by titration based on their acidic and base properties. An acid is titrated with a base and a base is titrated with an acid. For our study case, our burette will be containing NaOH, which is a strong base as the titrant, and our conical flask will be acid rain as an analyte. Then we will put few drop of indicator, example like phenolphthalein, to see the changes. So the endpoint is usually detected by adding an indicator. From the acid rain titration experiment, we can know the concentration of an acid and base, and whether a non-acid or base is strong or weak. We have four different types of acid-base titration. For the first one, strong acid and strong base, we have HCl and NH3. Second one, strong acid and weak base, we have HCl and NH3. For the third one, weak acid with strong base, we have CH3COOH and NaOH. Lastly, weak acid and weak base, we have CH3COOH and NH3.
Next is the methodology of acid rain titration. First, we're going to collect the rainwater sample in a clean container. This is to avoid contamination. And then, prepare the NaOH solution of known concentration. Make sure the solution is standardized and its concentration is accurately known. Then, fill the burette with NaOH solution and then recut the initial volume. Next, the rainwater sample are measured using a pipette and transferred into an Erlenmeyer flask. Then, few drops of pH indicator are added to the rainwater sample. And then start the titration by slowly adding the NaOH solution into the rainwater sample. Then observe the color change. And lastly, continue adding the NaOH solution until the endpoint is reached. Then recut the final volume and calculate the acid concentration. And this is the expected result of the titration. As you can see, the solution turned to pale pink. This means that the solution has reached the equivalent point.
Next is application of acid-base titration of acid rain analysis. Titration are commonly used to measure the concentration of various chemical species in water, soil, and air sample. For example, acid-base titration are used to measure the alkalinity and acidity of the water sample to determine the presence of pollutant like acid rain, industrial discharge, and more. And acid rain usually has a pH between 4.2 and 4.4. I will present about the causes of acid rain. The first one is combustion of fossil fuel. The burning of fossil fuels, especially coal and oil by power plants, industrial facilities and vehicles, release sulfur dioxide and nitrogen oxide into the air. Power generation and transportation are major contributors to this emission. Next is agriculture activities. The use of nitrogen-based fertilizer in agriculture can contribute to nitrogen oxide emission. Although this source is relatively smaller compared to fossil fuels combustion, it can still contribute to localized acid rain issues, especially in agriculture. The third one is industrial processes. Certain industrial processes, such as metal smelting, refining, and manufacturing of chemicals, can also release sulfur dioxide and nitrogen oxide. These activities are significant sources of acid rain pollutants, especially in areas with concentrated industrial activities. The last one is vehicle emission. Automobiles, trucks, buses, and other vehicles emit nitrogen oxide as byproduct of combustion engines despite regulatory efforts to reduce emissions through catalytic converter and cleaner fuels. Vehicle emission remain a notable source of nitrogen oxides. This is a summary of cause of acid rain. The first one is because of human activity produce nitrogen dioxide and sulfur dioxide into the atmosphere. Next, it carried away by the wind. And then nitrogen dioxide and sulfur dioxide oxidize and react with water produce sulfuric acid and nitric acid. And then the acid dissolve in cloud water droplet. And the last one, it descends to the Earth's surface as acid rain. And now I will present about effect of acid rain. The first one is extremely damaging to agricultural products, plant and animal. Second, causes respiratory problems in animals and human. And the third one is impact on aquatic ecology. Acid rain can have a devastating effects on aquatic ecosystem, particularly in lakes and streams that are not buffered against acidity. The increased acidity can harm aquatic life such as fish, insects, and plankton. Many aquatic species are sensitive to changes in pH levels and acidification and disrupt their reproductive cycles, growth, and ability to survive. Next is corrosion. Acid rain accelerates the corrosion of buildings, statues, bridges, and other structures made of stone, metal, or concrete. Over time, this can lead to structural damage and the deterioration of infrastructure, which can be costly to repair or replace. And the last one is soil depletion. Acid rain can contribute to soil degradation by leaching away essential nutrients and minerals that plants need to thrive. This depletion can reduce soil fertility and productivity, impacting agriculture yields and health of natural ecosystems.
To conclude, titration are widely used in our daily life industry. It is especially used in the medical field. Titration measures the purity and content. It helps to prepare pharmaceutical products. And titration is also essential for product development and quality monitoring. It is used in acid rain titration to measure the acidic chemicals in rainwater. Titration can assist to determine the severity and source of acid rain.